Forever United TV, welcome back to another special video where we're looking at the 11 players that are Ruben Amorim's go-to players from what we've seen so far. And joining me to help me out with this massive task is our friend of the channel and brilliant football content creator herself, Alice. Alice Talks Football. Welcome back, Alice. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks, Adam. Thanks so much for having me back on the channel. It's that busy time of year. All the fixtures are coming about. Ruben Amorim hasn't got much time to train with the squad, but I'm starting to see an identity. I'm starting to see improvement, and I can't ask for miracles. And I feel happy about United, and I feel like we're going to move forward.
And on that note, Alice, I can't disagree with everything that you said there. I am seeing changes. Ruben Amorim has given this full squad a test. And I say full squad because Ruben Amorim has actually used 22 players in 4 games. And 21 of them players have all started at some point for him. So he's had a real good look, and every single player has had a good chance under him, some more than others. And we're going to dissect all of the performances, what we've seen, pick out our go-to 11 that are going to get us through this busy Christmas period. Who are Ruben Amorim's reliables that he is going to pick to go out, say, against City, away to Spurs, away to Liverpool? Who are they outstanding players so far from what we've seen? Only one player that hasn't started. Can you guess who that is, Alice?
Euro?
Oh, actually, sorry, it's 2. I got that wrong. Alice has put me fairly in my place there.
Oh, Lindelof.
I had it marked. It's Euro and Shaw.
Oh, Shaw hasn't started yet.
Yeah, the only 2 players that have played that haven't started is Shaw and Euro for obvious reasons because of injuries. There's only 2 players, I would say, full international wise that are playing or have retired from international football that we're counting in this list that haven't started are Lindelof and Bayindir for obvious reasons. Because the first name on our team sheet, Alice, has to obviously be the goalkeeper of the season so far in Andre Onana. Is that? I don't think we need to get into a conversation. We've been here before, haven't we?
Solid. Yeah, good.
Absolutely brilliant. So, Andre Onana is the one. Okay, I've got a list of defenders, Alice. We're going to go through these right now. So, all of these players have played. All of these players have had game time. And all of these players pretty much have started games apart from Euro and Shaw. So, they are Johnny Evans, Matthias de Ligt, Mazraoui, Diogo Dalot, Lisandro Martinez, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Malacia, Shaw and Euro obviously on top of them. Let's start with the back 3, Alice. This is now going to get interesting because how impressed were you with Euro when he came on?
Oh,
he looked good, didn't he?
He was fantastic. He made a great tackle. He only had about 15 minutes, but the 15 minutes he came on, as you said, the momentum changed after Arsenal scored. So Arsenal were just coming at us. Euro was brought on in a difficult situation where he had to defend a lot of space, and Arsenal were coming at him, and I thought, his ability to make tackles, get his legs in there, had a bit of Wan-Bissaka in there. His ability to sort of track the runners was really good. He's good on the ball. I think he won all of his aerial duels. I think he won most of his duels. I thought that he was super, super impressive, especially given the circumstances. And for me, I just think this guy soon is going to be starting week in, week out for United at 19 years of age. I think he's just another level, and I can see why Madrid wanted him.
Okay, do you know what, Alex? I would play him. I would have him in as my go-to. Would you put him in the back 3 now after just that little bit of a cameo?
I would actually. I think.
Let's lock him in.
Yeah,
I just lock Euro in then.
I think he's fine. I think as well, long term, when you think of what Amorim wants in the centre back, he is probably more suited than Matthias de Ligt long term. And I wouldn't drop Matthias de Ligt. He's been good. I think I'd have Euro right centre back. And I'd probably move Mazraoui to left wing back personally, because I've not been moved by Dalot. But it's difficult because Mazraoui's been so good at right centre back. But I think Euro will be the answer long term.
Yeah. I can see Mazraoui moving as well. So Euro is in at centre back. Are we fully confirming? Obviously, Martinez's numbers have been outstanding under Ruben Amorim so far. I think he will definitely play tomorrow, having been rested through suspension, obviously. So we've got Euro. I'm definitely saying we're going to put Martinez in there as well. That's our go-to.
On the ball, the way he finds space.
Yeah, 100%. That third centre back, Alice. Are we going de Ligt on this? Are we looking elsewhere? I think right now you've got, and honestly, actually, tell me what you thought of Maguire against Arsenal, Alice, because I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, I thought he had a fantastic game. I think de Ligt had a good game as well. But I actually was really impressed with Maguire. I think his passing was really good as well. And I actually think if you look at when Maguire's been his best, it was that season when Leicester played a back 3. and he was central centre back. He's done well for England in the back three. I think Maguire's the central centre back in the back three. That role is made for him, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you reckon De Ligt or Maguire? Who would you go with?
It's a difficult one, actually, to be honest, for me. But I think De Ligt hasn't put a foot wrong, and I think it's more see how De Ligt does. If he has an iffy game, you bring Maguire in. I think that one's really up for grabs, which people won't like me to say because we've obviously just brought in De Ligt, and Maguire will probably go because he's older, he's on higher wages. But I do think that Maguire could give De Ligt a run for his money, and I don't think De Ligt's been bad. I thought he was good versus Arsenal. Actually, really was impressed by him. But I do think that Maguire, profile-wise, just suits the role really well.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I feel like I'm actually happy about having a conversation regarding De Ligt and Maguire. I like that we're in this position now where we're splitting hairs over certain centre backs. I feel really solid and really comfortable with the defenders at the moment. And Euro coming in has just really it's given me that extra little bit of confidence as to say we have got options. We have got realistic options right now. And I just think that looking at it and going, De Ligt just gets the edge because he's been consistent, but Maguire's come in and really staked a claim. I'm like, this is what I wanted to see. And this, Alice, ultimately, is through the manager giving everybody a chance and getting the whole squad involved and making them feel like they are part of this. And probably why we have heard Harry Maguire himself come out and say that he feels like he can earn himself a new contract. I mean, on that quickly, would you, with Maguire, see the best of him out this year or give him a new deal? Would you give him a rolling deal or move on? What would you say?
It's a difficult one for me because I think he's on very high wages and he's been very injury prone this last year. So I personally wouldn't want to give him a new deal when you look at the age, when you look at the wages, when you look at how injury prone he is. But I also know that Lindelof and Evans are going to leave on a 3. Maguire is better than Lindelof and Evans. We need to invest in attack. We need to invest in fullback. We need to invest in midfield. We might not have the money for 2 centre backs. I think I could extend Maguire's contract by another year. I don't know if I'd give him a new contract, but I think we could opt for that 1-year extension.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much nailed down our goalkeeper and back three there. So far we have got a back three of Euro, De Ligt and Leachoff with Harry Maguire on the bench right now. A comfortable bench player, let's just say that. Moving on to the left and right wing back situation. Alice, you talked about Mazraoui going to the left wing back there, didn't you? I feel like that for me is a definite go-to as well. Why are you putting him there just quickly in terms of his abilities and what you think you can get for him? Because he has been excellent at centre-back as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult because I think he's been so good at right centre-back and I think he gives Ahmad that license to go forward. And part of me thinks long-term, Euro central centre-back, maybe Mazraoui right centre-back, Leach left centre-back. Because I actually think with Ahmad at right wing back, having a right back there is really beneficial because it can make Ahmad more of a right winger and it can overload the attack. But left wing back is a massive issue. Left wing back is going to be the priority in the transfer window. And, I like Dalot. I think Dalot is a good player and I would not sell Dalot. I think Dalot will actually be to Man United in the future what maybe Joe Gomez is to Liverpool. He can play centre back, he can play left back, he can play right back, he can play on either full back, and then he could fill in at right centre back if needed, Dalot under Amorim. But he might not get in our best back 5 in terms of strength, and I think that's a good thing because if you want to compete at the top, having players like Dalot and Maguire on the bench to rely on if there's injuries rather than Lindelof, or playing Lindelof right back is different. And I just think with Mazraoui, I think for me, he's impressed me more than Dalot this season, but I think he's better naturally on the left than Dalot. I'd like to see Dalot right wing back. I'd like to see Dalot right centre back. Our best player last season. I really do rate Dalot. I think physically and technically, he's so gifted. But if we're going off form, Mazraoui's been the better fullback. If we're going off ability with your weaker foot, Mazraoui is so 2-footed, and Mazraoui is a bit better going forward. Again, I don't think either fullback is massively attacking minded, but Mazraoui, when you look at the assists, some of the passes he's made, I think Mazraoui would suit the left wing back role probably the most right now.
I agree with that. I just look at it and I just got to reiterate as well. We're looking at the players that have performed well playing for Amorim. We're not going off past here. We're going in this formation. Who has suited these positions the best? And that's what our judgment will be on. And right now, we're going with Mazraoui at left wing back. I can confirm and lock that win. I'm happy with that. Alice, is it as simple as going Ahmad has to be right wing back right now because he's been that good under Amorim?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think if we're going to play a team with a really attacking fullback like an Alphonso Davies, and even like Ipswich had Leaf Davies when we played them, I'd like to see Ahmed in the front three because I don't want him to be pinned back by a really attacking fullback. But I think if we're going to play a team where we're going to have possession, and I think most of the teams will play because they'll play a back four, I like Ahmed at right wing back. I still want to see him in the front three because I think the front three lacks, and I think he's probably got the most quality. But I think, right now, right wing back, I don't want anyone else to do that role.
Yep, I'm happy with that. So at the moment, we've got Dalot and Maguire on the bench from what we've seen so far. Obviously, we're not bringing Shaw in yet because he is injured. Johnny Evans is on the bench as well. He's not made it into our team. Victor Lindelof hasn't even started a game, so he's nowhere near anyway. So pretty much covering all of the defenders there in one. Let's get into the two midfielders. Obviously, for me, it's a no-brainer because I think he has been outstanding the last couple of games, and that's Manuel Ugarte. Do I even have to ask your opinion on Ugarte, Alice? I mean, you can bring him up if you want, but how good has he been? And he was my man of the match against Arsenal.
Yeah.
I'll quickly ask you where you was with yours in that Arsenal game as well.
Yeah, he was my man of the match as well, actually. I think these last few games he's done really well. I think, an iffy game versus Spurs. But other than that, I think he's been really good for United. I think he's had 7, 8 good games in a row. He seems to get better and better. I think we touched upon this when we spoke last week, Adam, but he's got the legs, and nobody else in our midfield has got the legs and got what he can do out of possession. So if he's injured, there is a question there with the lack of legs out of possession. And I think, yes, he's not the most beautiful on the ball. He doesn't feed the attackers, this and that. But we didn't bring him in to do that. We brought him in to, probably partner Maino long term and solve the out of possession issues in midfield. And out of possession, I thought we were fantastic versus Arsenal. In possession, yeah, we could have done more in the midfield, but out of possession, he was really good. And yeah, I've been very happy with Ugarte. I think he 100% starts. I think he's so important. And I think, yeah, there's no questions about that for me.
100% agree with you there on Ugarte, Alice. I think he's been an absolute breath of fresh air since Amorim has come in. You picked out the Tottenham game there. In fact, that was like his first real baptism of fire. Welcome to Van der Ven. Welcome to the nightmare that is Erik Ten Hag football. And I feel like that really was unfair to judge him, I would have thought, more than anything there. But partnering him, Alice, I've got to look at Bruno here. I've got to look at, obviously, Casemiro. You've also got Collier to come back in at some point as well. I don't know if he would fit in, but who is the go-to? Now, we've seen Bruno drop in. We've seen Bruno at 10. We've seen a few plays in different positions. So, realistically, if we're going up against, say, for instance, a City, which we are building this team around, this tough fixture period, who is partnering Manuel Ugarte? Because he's your security blanket. Who is the best foil for him, do you reckon, in that midfield?
I mean, I think it is Maino. We haven't seen a lot of him under Amorim. I think he started one game. I think he's played about 60 minutes under Amorim. I think, if we're going off what we've seen so far under Amorim, maybe Bruno has been done a bit more in that role. But I think long term it will be Maino and Ugarte because I think we lacked a little bit of build up in the midfield, and I think Maino just being comfortable to receive the ball and progress, it works well. That being said, I think Bruno right now actually has really impressed me in that role. I think out of possession, he didn't put a foot wrong versus Arsenal. I thought he was very disciplined in his possession and put in defensive shift. I think he kept the ball quite well in that role as well. But I just think Bruno, for me, does play his best football higher up because of the creativity it brings. I think having Bruno on the pivot allows you to have that extra player in attack. But I think for me, it will be Maino. But I think we've obviously seen more of Bruno there so far.
I'm liking a look at this team, to be honest, Alice. It is starting to really take shape in a positive way. And you know what? This has changed from having a bit of game time under Ruben Amorim because we've always done, me and you myself, ourselves have done shows predicting what Amorim might do with what we've got. I think it has changed in how we've seen these players perform under Ruben Amorim as well. So I think that's why this show is interesting because we're finding out who Amorim is going to be able to rely on more than anything. I was surprised when Mainu started the game and how long he actually got against Everton because I thought he was going to look after him a bit more, but I guarantee, I think Mainu comes in tomorrow, Alice. Do you reckon against Forest he's definitely a starter tomorrow if they're having a full week rest?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably ready to start. He started versus Everton. I'd like to see him start next to Ugarte. I just think because Maino is what he does on the ball. It's not about off the ball for Maino. And I think because Casemiro has lost a bit of legs off the ball, I felt that versus Everton, we just lacked the legs in midfield a bit. But I think he'll start, but I want to see him start next to Ugarte.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. This is interesting so far. Without our front three, we have got an Arnold in goal. We've got Leacher, Delict, and Yoro at the back. We've got Ahmad as one wing back on the right. We've got Mazraoui on the left, and we've got Agate and Mainu. Going off the squad and the depth right now, I'm compiling a bench here, and I'm running out of room on the bench already. But check this bench out. The bench is Evans, Casemiro, Maguire, Dallo, and Shaw right now. Obviously, when Shaw is fit, but there's 5 first-team players I feel would have been in Eric Ten Hag's side already. And we're seeing this take shape. We're seeing this now start to form into an Amorim system and who he thinks can be the team that plays most of the game at the intensity that he wants. And I mean, you look at that there, Alice, already. I'm looking at the versatility in defence, the energy in the midfield, and the quality and class on either wing back positions. That tells you everything. And I just want to quickly ask you about his comments, because this is where we're going to lead into the forward line now, Alice. His comments about you can see the team working from defence to midfield, and then we break down up front. We don't create enough. We're not aggressive enough. I've got an issue with the front line at the moment. I feel like 3 of them are letting us down or are not playing well enough right now. And there are other players that I think are falling a bit behind because the others are not performing.
Yeah.
Do you agree with what Amorim was saying in that press conference?
Yeah, I think we definitely lack an attack. I do think we weren't feeding the attack, and I think one of the biggest issues we have is not feeding the attack and giving them much. But when they have got stuff, then they're not doing much with it. There's definitely a lack of quality there. Someone that's really comfortable holding the ball and keeping it, and because when Ahmad gets forward, he can do something with it, but he's got a different quality about him. So I think the attack's so difficult because there's players that will have one good game, and you're like, oh, and then the next game they're shite again, and it's like it's so difficult to really figure out what's the best way to go about it. But definitely reinforcements in the summer.
And we are going to judge our front three now on what we have seen so far, which is going to be quite difficult, as we've just described. Yeah, so let's do the 10s first of all. I'm going to put my first shout in here, Alice. I just feel like this player has had the raw end of the stick. It may surprise a few people, actually, this selection, but I think for Amorim, I think the best option for him right now is Mason Mount as one of the 10s. Personally, I mean, you could come back and change this if you want, Alice. I'm not here to convince you. I want you to come back and maybe don't think that that's right. And I want everyone in the comment section, please do as well. But I just think Mount's intensity, his intelligence off the ball, is better than everyone else that we've got there. I just feel that way. I feel like he's got more off the ball, which is what Amorim, I think, is looking for right now. Mount for you, or would you go elsewhere, Alice?
It's really difficult because I think that you're right in what you said. I think Mount brings something that no one else brings. It's just so difficult because there's 3 spaces there. And it's like, for me, if we're not playing Bruno in the pivot, he's got to be one of the 10s because I think he's one of the only people in our squad that can actually score goals and set up goals, which, we don't have many people in there. But then I think Mount actually is probably better suited to that role. But we've not seen crazy amounts of Mason Mount yet. I thought he was really good in the Bodo Glimt game. I don't think he had his best game versus Arsenal, but you see what he has to the system. So for me, I think you could go with Mount and Bruno as the 10s, but I would also like a pace outlet in there, which is when you debate Garnacho, when you debate Rashford. But Garnacho and Rashford, I think Rashford's been better than Garnacho recently. It's difficult because we're not seeing enough from any of them, because part of me is like, well, if you have Xerxes, you've got to have Rashford because you've got to have Rashford's pace running off Xerxes. But if you've got Højlund, I think you could get away with Bruno and Mount.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. I totally get what you said there, because my underperformers have been Xerxes, Rashford and Garnacho, whereas I feel like Mount's done what he has been asked, Bruno's done what he has been asked, and I think Højlund, he didn't have a shot against Arsenal, but I thought his hold-up play and his general strength play was decent against Arsenal. He will get stick for obviously being Man United's number 9 and not scoring enough goals, but ultimately in the end, I just feel like right now Højlund is feeling enough scraps. I think the best 2 players around him to give him that ball and create something are Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes. But I think we can. This is one where I want the comments to come in right now. Mount is definitely in for me. Would you agree with that? I know it's my show and everything, Alice. I don't
Yeah.
want you to just agree, but would you go
Yeah,
with
no.
Mount?
I think if Hoyland's the striker, I go with Mount. I think if
Yeah.
Xerxes the striker, I would go with Rashford because he can run off him.
Yep, yep, yep. I 100% agree with that one there. So I think we pretty much selected our front three just off Mount coming in. And I think this is what happens with Amorim, doesn't it? In the system that he wants to play, it's like you just said then, if Xerxes plays, Rashford has to be there as well. If Mount plays, that's the better one for Rasmus Højlund. So in theory, it's not picking individual players anymore. It's picking the combinations rather than
System. Yeah.
individuals. And that's what I think is different under Ruben Amorim. I think he is finding a way to change it. It's dare I even say it? It's like having Cole and York or Sheringham and Solskjaer or mixing them up. It's like when we had Berbatov, Tevez, Rooney, and Ronaldo in the side. Who were the best combinations for certain games? I think that's where we're at right now. And I think it's encouraging again. And that's what I look at. I go in depth and think there's actually a different way of looking at the team selection now.
100%.
And I feel like, I think let's just say, for instance, obviously we know what's going to happen tomorrow, but if we're looking at City, which of the front three combination works best in that game, Alice? Let's have a little play around with that, because I like the fact that we've got Højlund with Mount and Bruno. But if we're looking at these big games, what's the go-to? Is it the retention and better on the ball? Because I think both Mount and Bruno are over Garnacho and Rashford anyway.
Yeah.
How are we best setting that up against the Man City? Because I'm happy with the defence in the midfield. I just don't know which way to go with the front three for that game.
Yeah, it's difficult because as well, Man City have been shite this season. So it's like, are we going, assuming Man City are going to be really good and have found their rhythm because they beat Forest, or are we going against that shite Man City that have had lacked legs in their midfield and have been playing through quite easily? Now, when I look at Tottenham and I look at Liverpool, what killed Man City was pace. And I think when you look at his record versus Man City, I'd want Rashford to play versus Man City because of the pace and his ability to run in behind. But I'd also want Mount and I'd also want Bruno because I think you need that movement and that creativity off the ball. But I don't want Rashford as the striker. It's difficult when we think of City because it's like what City's going to show up. But I'd probably go Rashford, Bruno, and then I'd probably go Højlund. I think his physicality is more suited for it. But then I think Xerxes complements it better. It's really difficult because I think you just don't know what City are going to be like. But I want a pace outlet in there. I'd want one of Rashford and Garnacho in there, and I think Rashford's the better of the two right now.
Would there be any shout? Would there be any shout to drop Bruno in instead of Mainu into the midfield?
Potentially, I think he did quite well versus Arsenal, and I think he runs a lot more off the ball.
Yeah.
But I just think with Maino's ability to progress it and with in build up, he could be beneficial because I felt that we didn't feed the attack with that pivot versus Arsenal.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that one. So to go back, I think it is definitely changing per game, per system and opposition. I think that's what he wants to build. Ultimately, he wants to have different options. I do believe when he gets his striker in, or when we go out and buy a proper striker, he will be in there every single week. I think his wing backs are two players that I don't think he will want to rotate. I think he will have like them players stuck there. They will be go-tos. His midfield will obviously be Agate. I think actually there will be a rotation next to Agate, personally. Eventually. I think that's his go-to in front of the back three. The back three take care of itself right now, I feel. I really do. I think the ones that we picked, Leacher, Delict and Yoro, are the mix and the blend in there. The aggressive, the experience and the dynamism and quality on the ball with Yoro, just like, he's beyond his years, Yoro. He looks absolutely outstanding for what he did. That one-on-one, I was like, oh no, I'm worried here with Trossard. And I thought at one point he was actually out of position a tiny, but he sort of lured him into a tackling position where we knew he was safe to tackle him. And I thought, you know what? That's actually quality. That watching it back, I put the highlights up of it myself. I was like, that's proper defending right there. And Amorim picked up on it. So where he may not start tomorrow, I think going into this crunch period, Alice, Yoro is a mainstay in this Amorim
100%.
side.
I think he'll be a regular starter sooner rather than later.
Listen to this bench right now. Oh my God. Right. Okay. We've not even found a spot for Anthony, by the way. We couldn't even pick a team. Rashford. So we're going to have Anthony, Rashford, Xerxes, Garnacho, Evans, Casemiro, Maguire, Dalot, and Shaw. We've not got
It's
a
a good bench.
goalkeeper on there. We've got Collier and Lindelof to come back into the squad as well. Wow. Options there. Isn't it funny how no one's injured all of a sudden as well, Alice?
I know. It's a bit of a coincidence, to be honest. You know,
It's a weird one, that, isn't it? How we've actually got a squad to pick from all of a sudden. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But I did a show last night talking about the rules that Amorim is installing behind the scenes at United. And I think there's a lot to do with that in there as well, with what's happening with the injured players. But still, I like the look of that team. I feel like it is solid. And 3 or 4 signings in a window, that could change even more, Alice.
oh yeah, wow. I sit here right now and I just think just 4 signings could make such a difference. A left wing back, another centre back that, you know, provides the depth and it's good, that's quick, just helps in the transitions. A midfielder with legs that is also technically good and can progress the ball, and then someone in attack that can actually score goals. Just 4 additions could make such a difference to the squad, because I don't think it's a bad squad. I think we've got Carrington to dip into as well. Saku Kone was someone I did in my video. I spoke about in my video earlier today. Someone obviously been injured, but he, when it comes to technical and, you know, profile wise, he could be a potential midfielder. And, you know, we talk about Mantato and Harry Amas, and yeah, I think there's something there. And I just think, you know, I would love 7, 8 additions in the summer because I think there's so much, but 4 proper signings in the summer could make such a difference as well if we can get the right technical and physical attributes in those players.
Yeah, 100% agree with that one. And that is our team. That's who we feel are the go-tos at the moment from what we've seen under Ruben Amorim. Please do get your comments in below. Let us know if you agree with mine and Alice's choices there. The Mount one, I think, was a debatable. And that front three, who is your front three? Please do comment below. Make sure you give the video a like as well. And make sure you subscribe to Forever United TV. Also, thank you to Alice as well for coming on again. Absolute pleasure, Alice.
Thank you so much for having me on, Adam. And guys, make sure you hit the like button for Adam if you haven't already.
And that's it. Alice's link to her channel, Alice Talks Football, is in the description as well, guys. So please do go check out Alice's content as well. She has some great stuff, as well as her other channel. Just give them a shout out to the other channel as well, please, Alice, because you cover all Premier League football on that one as well.
So non-United, Big Six, but non-Man United. But I do a bit of Newcastle and Villa here and there. It's called Aquila Football. It's Alice spelled backwards, Aquila. I couldn't think of the name. So yeah, if you're into general content, that's the place to go.
I was actually wondering what the name was, but now Alice has cleared that all up. You all know. So yeah, there you go. And that's it. Thank you, everybody. We will be back with match day next, obviously. But again, just enjoy the content. Give the video a like. Get your comments in. More importantly, let us know what you feel, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody.